So hey y'all, how y'all doing today? It's currently like 2 o'clock right now, and I'm just sitting up in my living room currently. And as you can see, I have a candle because I just feel like doing that for the aesthetic today. But anyways, I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope you guys are staying warm. I heard it's supposed to rain in here in Texas in the next couple of days, so yeah, you know how I feel about that. But y'all, what y'all think about that winter storm that happened last week? Like, that was ridiculous. Like, I mean, I'm gonna just jump right into it because obviously, like, obviously this is what this video is going to be about, right? Yeah. So there was a series, like, okay, so y'all know how it was like a series of power outages, and then there was like pipes that bursted in some houses, apartments, businesses, and then correct me if I'm wrong, and then there was also a snowstorm, the snowstorm that happened, but it was also like sleet and ice. And when I tell y'all, I never experienced anything like that in my life before. Like, it was just crazy. So I'm just gonna break it down to like how it all began. So it all started on that the week prior to, where it was on a Saturday, and my best friend and I were texting, and my best friend texted me that like his lights went out, and I kind of just blew it off a little bit because I was kind of just like, oh, that's what you get, you know. I was being whatever about it. I was like, no big deal. And so I'm picking off the thingy off this candle. So his lights went out and my lights were still on, so I didn't think too much of it. And so shortly after we spoke, I went to sleep. I went to sleep thinking everything was all right. And also we received like a snowstorm warning on our phone, so like that kind of should have gave me like that kind of like heads up right there. But of course, as usual, I didn't listen. So following the next day, I woke up, all my lights were out, and I tried to turn them one on, and it didn't turn on. This was on Sunday. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So I did my best to just get ready for work, prepare myself for work. And I went to work, and at my job, cut. Sorry, y'all. I just kind of took a minute. So it was Saturday, and all the light, that's when all the power started to go out. So my lights went out in my apartment on Sunday. And I know what y'all thinking, like, why am I sitting up like this? But just bear with me. And I went to work, and everything was cool at work. You know, business was running as usual. The lights were on. The lights in the refrigerator were working. The waffle irons were working. And then at 11 o'clock, it was shortly after 11 o'clock. I remember the time because it was like 11:15. And around that time, all of a sudden the power went out there. So in the midst of transactions, cooking, like cleaning, all that, like it all went off. And so that all had to stop. And then, because all that had to stop, guess what else went out? The mother freaking AC. I was pissed. So, so basically I was scheduled to work till 2 o'clock that day. So imagine from like 11 to like 2 o'clock working with no power, no water, like, you know, pretty much like you have water, but very limited water. And when our power was out, we kind of still had to just keep everything running. So we had to keep making orders. But then all of a sudden, the occupancy in the restaurant went from like 5-6 people at a time to almost 30 people in a span of like 2 hours. So like kind of closer towards the end, but not really. And it was just me and one other girl working that entire shift because everybody else had to call out because they couldn't drive in the snow. Sorry, y'all. Me and my best friend, we ate a lot, so like I'm kind of still trying to recover. Side note. So, anyways, back to the main story. So we sitting up there, we're taking orders. We're still trying to do indoor dining because it's daytime, so it's kind of like, you know, we could still work during the daytime, but at the same time, like, we're only limited to so much. So I couldn't make waffles. We couldn't do like sodas. So all people would get was water. And then we just had a lot of customers that just were not willing to wait patiently. And so it just like we ended up losing customers that day. But at the same time, like, people understood like we were working through like these circumstances that was out of our control. And some people tipped generously, which was nice. And I was very grateful that I actually had someone who was actually able to take me safely to and from work. But guys, I'll tell you, going through a winter storm was no joke. Like, I wish I was more prepared for this, because being that I came from another state that never produces snow. So ERCOT is basically the people who are actually in charge of Texas energy, and I'm really disappointed by how they actually handled the situation, like, in regards to the power outage. I feel like, y'all, I'm about to get deep into this, so I'm just going to tell y'all how I really feel, okay? So, basically, like, before all this even happened, when the snowstorm warning was beginning to happen, they didn't even warn us. They didn't even warn us that there was going to be a power outages that were going to occur. And when the power outages happened, what they ended up doing was that they stopped all of the power. They actually cut off all power to reduce the amount of money that was going to be charged to people's bills, because it was either people were going to riot about the fact that people were going to get charged like highly, which they already were, but it was either that or they turned it off. So basically, like, they were in control of like the whole power outages to begin with. And that was an issue. That was an issue at hand, because it was like, regardless, and according to a Texas law that I've spoken with somebody actually recently, according to a Texas law, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but according to a Texas law, that if any way of a crisis, or like it was a natural disaster or anything that was an emergency in regards to the state, like, they'll take your energy away. Like, they'll basically do power outages just so that way, and they'll still charge you, and you can't even sue them. Like, so basically, it's like, if I'm 3 days without power, they're still going to charge me money for even though I didn't use those days for power. Isn't that ridiculous? Like, come on now. Like, you're telling me that even if I'm not using it out of my control or out of my circumstances, you're still going to make me pay for those days as if for a whole month? That don't make no sense. And y'all, what's even more screwed up about it is the fact that all the rich neighborhoods still had power, like nothing was going on. While lower class and middle class had to deal with power outages, having to go to warming centers and having to stay at friends' house in order to actually survive, and people dying or almost dying of hypothermia, or trying to like warm up their cars. Like, it was ridiculous. And like, I'm like, how are you talking about looking out for the people and you're not for the people? Make sense?
I would think so.
The reason I'm wearing this today is to show you guys that when your grandma picks out something for you, understand it's for a reason. My grandma bought me this back in December. Not even December. She bought me this in October. Excuse me. She brought me this in October. And at first when she bought me this for me, I swear, cause like I said, it doesn't snow out here in Texas, so I never thought it was actually useful. I didn't know how cold it was gonna get. But for that 1 week that it was actually like 0 degrees, this came in handy. And it kept me warm. When my heater broke, this actually kept me warm, for the days I stayed in my apartment when other people went to their house. Went to hotels. Ultimately, what I want to say to you guys is just be grateful in the little things. This has I've dealt with my own experiences here in Texas that I'm gonna explain more about as I continue filming for you guys. And this was just one of those memories where I will never solely forget, because not only was my best friend here, but this also taught me how to increase my faith in God. And it also honestly helped me learn to just be grateful for the things that I do have, like a roof over my head, and for food to eat, and that I had a job to go to, that I was able to actually still be able to bring in income to support myself, and sometimes we take little things for granted because we want more out of life, and we have these high aspirations and goals, which I get it. I go through it every day. But, truth be told, it's times like these that actually remind us that it's okay to be where you are, because at least as long as you keep moving forward and you're working towards something, you're going to get to where you're trying to go. And as you're going to get to where you're going to discover so much, and you're going to become such a stronger person. The hardest thing I took away from this was the fact that I had a lot of family who were worried for me back home, but I had so many of them who supported me in being able to actually buy me the attire I needed. And to that, I'm always grateful for. And even my best friend, when I needed something, my best friend would always, and even when I needed something, my best friend would always, he asked me if I needed anything, and if I needed blankets or if I needed some hot chocolate or anything, he made sure I was okay. And it also made me realize how much of a strong person I am. I realized when you're put in situations that you have no choice but to be strong in, then you be strong in that. You don't let nobody, you don't let nobody try to change your view of your journey. We all want to become something in life. We all want to become the best versions of ourselves, the greatest versions of ourselves. But we also have to learn to take baby steps and, enjoy the ride, enjoy the experiences, and most importantly, take every lesson we learn and grow with it, especially if you're in your 20s like me. I used to be so excited about getting my 20s when I was in teens, but now I'm in my 20s. It's I feel like this is my growing process. So, on that note, if y'all have any questions about deeper discussion about the Winterstorm, definitely I will be happy to answer them for you guys in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will definitely be putting out more videos for you guys. I hope y'all find this video interesting. Give it a thumbs up. Y'all didn't hear that. Y'all didn't hear that. Don't start. I know you watching. I know who watching. You act like y'all ain't normal. So anyways, back to what I was saying. I'll talk to y'all soon. Next video coming up in the next couple of days, so be on the lookout. Love y'all.